let's chat more about how the Wedding Duo became the Wedding Duo. So my name's Serena. I am one half of the Wedding Duo. I am an event planner, and I actually got into event planning through working at a venue. And I would recommend this for anybody who's interested in wedding planning, event planning, because you really get to see all the pieces. I was there through the event, so I would start beforehand, getting everything prepped, and then be there to the end of the night to see the cleanup. And you really get your hands on multiple parts of the event to know what it takes to run a good event. So once I spent some years working as a banquet server at a venue, I decided that, I could really do this on my own. I could take it on and make it something greater. And that's when we moved out to San Antonio. I really enjoy organization, making the day better than it could be expected for my couples, and getting to know the parts of the wedding that are important to them. I really pride myself in being their wedding BFF, meaning that I am there to answer questions, to kind of keep them in what we like to call a bubble of bliss throughout the day so that they don't have to worry about anything that could or may go wrong. So it's really the most enjoyable, most rewarding position I've ever had, other than maybe being a mother and a wife. But I love being there for my couples, and I still get teary-eyed every time my bride goes down the aisle, because it's this sense of accomplishment and also joy. I get to be part of this day for these people. And we always talk about what a big day this is for couples. We help to make it better than they could have dreamed. So the other part of the wedding industry that I enjoy is the business side of things. I enjoy seeing our business grow and coming out with new things for our clients, for our couples, making sure that our team is working well together. We just got a new office, and that's been a tremendous accomplishment for me to have a space outside of the home. We were working out of our home for about 7 years, and so it's been really amazing to see how much our business can grow, and we love being there for our clients and also just being a place where people enjoy working. We have a great team. I feel very lucky to be at the head of that. We didn't always have the vision to work independently, but once Dominic was doing DJing and we added planning, I really felt that I could grow the business to another level, and it has. We now serve 30 to 40 weddings a month as a company, and that's incredible to me. We also have a huge following online as the Wedding Duo, where we give information and content we provide for our wedding community, couples getting married, other vendors. So it's just been such a journey, such a labor of love for myself, and then also to be able to do that with my husband has been phenomenal.
So I got into this through stand-up comedy, and people are always I'm always hesitant. I don't usually tell that to my brides because I don't want them to think it's gonna be Dominic's joke time at their wedding. I have other outlets for that. But the hardest part about what a wedding DJ has to do is the MC side of things. If I hit play on Love Shack, it sounds the same as I play it than if you play it. So what are you doing different on as a DJ? And it's really the MC is a huge part of it. I mean, song selection is a big thing. I always have my finger on the pulse of what the crowd's digging after the couple give me their music taste and such. But the MC side is really hard. Jerry Seinfeld has this joke where he used to say they took a survey of people's biggest fears, and number 1 was public speaking, and number 2 was death, which meant if you were at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy, which I thought is the most brilliant synopsis of public speaking. I always refer to it as the tip of the spear for public speaking. I've had people argue with me and say, oh, well, I speak at conventions and there's 1,000 people out there that I have to speak to, and I go, oh yeah? How many times do they say, you suck, get off the stage? Never. But the comedy world, that's the pressure you're under. So once I got into this, I had a friend that owned a DJ company, and it was a franchise he owned. He bought into it, and he was looking for more DJs, which is not unlike what we're always looking for, that talent, right? And I said, hey, if anybody's ever looking for a comedian at a corporate gig, because sometimes they'll do a hypnotist or a magician or a comedian at a corporate party. He saw my card and he goes, I could use some help DJing. And I'm like, oh, I've always had a love for music. I'm like, yeah, sure, let me give it a shot. And I'm telling you, the stars aligned for me. And I've always had a pretty big personality. I'm not exactly shy. But when I hit the DJ world, it was like my personality was just an asset. And it was like, feel free to go as big as you want. And so finally, when I grew into it, I'm like, So I had the MC skills. I've always had a love for music. Once I figured out the wedding world, oh my gosh, the gloves were off, and it was like very freeing to me. But I love it. I love running the party. People feed off my energy during the night. And I tell my team, I say, people will feed off your energy. Don't be sitting back there. Like sometimes you're looking for a song or you're doing something, but on my team, we dance as much as the guests do. I love what I do. It's so great. I mean, I tell people all the time, we attend parties for a living, so it's a pretty good gig, but it really is fun what we do. But also to make somebody's wedding day go better than they'd expected is very rewarding. And that's our goal. We want them at the end of the night to say, oh my God, best party ever. If they had a good time and they bump into you at a family event later, they'll be like, oh my God, did I have fun at your wedding? I danced all night, my calves hurt for 2 days, and I'm like, thank your DJ, because that usually falls squarely on your DJ's shoulders. And like I said, it's a labor of love. We love it. I mean, I couldn't be more happy to have somebody's wedding just be the most fantastic event, and all your cousins and siblings like are gonna try to just reach for that. Like, that's the wedding. Like, you've set the bar so high. And I go, you're welcome. In the beginning, the earth cooled. And then the dinosaurs came.
And then we showed up.
I'll scoot ahead a little bit. Yeah, well, no, we're not that old.
Oh, maybe we're
But we've been
getting
doing this a
close.
while. How long have we been doing it? We tell people 15 years, but
We've been telling people 15 years for
several years
Several
now.
years
Yeah,
now.
I don't know.
We started our journey here in San Antonio about 8 years ago. We moved here from Northern California, and the intention was never to start our own business.
I thought my DJ days were done. I had done it about 10 years with two other companies out in California. I'm not from there, that's where she's from, but I'm former military, so where I'm from is a hard question to answer for anybody that's military out there, you know how that works. But yeah, so we got out here and I got voluntold to do her boss's wedding. And I was like, sweetheart, I sold most of the gear. It like ages out, it gets beat up.
Yes.
A
We
mobile
had
DJ, it gets, I had one speaker.
That's
and
right.
I had a speaker, and I had my computer, of course, and my experience. Mismatched speakers. I had a JBL and a Mackie. And thinking now, to think back that I had two different speakers, oh my God, I would never. But we did it for free. It wasn't, I don't know if it was supposed to be free, but it ended up being free. But I piecemealed this gear together, and I did the wedding, and I kind of missed it, because it taps into a side of my personality that few things do. And I was like, well, now that I got a rough setup together, I kind of threw my hat in the ring, and it kind of snowballed from there. And then before we knew it, our Saturdays were being filled up with DJ events.
And he was also working a full-time job, and so you can imagine what our schedules looked like. I was working as well. We had 3 small children, and
We still have those 3
We
small
do still have the children, yes. Something had to give at some point, and a lot of people who are getting into a small business and maybe it starts out as kind of a side hustle can probably identify with this journey where we had to make a decision at some point, like, were we gonna go full-time or were we gonna just keep it as a part-time thing? And we decided to jump in, and he jumped in first. So he quit his full-time job and started DJing full-time. Of course, there was weekday work, meetings, phone calls, and then heavily on the weekends. And I was working for a venue at the time, and eventually we decided, let's add the planning piece to the business, and that's kind of how it all came together in that place. And now it's evolved. So At Last Entertainment Events is our local business in San Antonio, Texas. We serve the greater San Antonio area for planning and DJ service. We now have a team of 6 DJs, and I have 2 assistants for planning. It's amazing. We're here in this office. We have a studio. It's just been such an incredible journey for us, not only in the business world, but as a couple.
Yeah, and that was the business side of things. The wedding duo stuff came about right at the start of the pandemic. Our calendars suddenly were very clear. There was like a month and a half that just was like everybody canceled because nobody knew what was going on. And then slowly they started to come back. But for a month and a half there,
we had to get creative.
And so we came up with the wedding duo, and we started with every new social media. They're all a bit different. What works for TikTok may not work as a reel or as a story. But you start throwing stuff against the wall, and then we started kind of getting some traction. So now we've gotten to this point now where we'll get an email or we'll have somebody comment on one of our videos on TikTok, and they were like, I just got married last weekend, and you guys helped so much with all the parts. And I was like,
oh my God,
thank
it's
you,
the best.
random stranger from Minnesota or whatever. It's very bizarre. We'll go to a wedding, and if somebody is engaged, they'll come up and they'll be like, are you on TikTok? And my answer is always, are you engaged? Because that's the main reason I would come across your For You page. I mean, it's great for my ego, right? I'm like,
It doesn't fit in the house anymore, actually.
I always tell people we attend parties for a living, so it's a pretty good gig, right? But at the same time, it's people's weddings and we take it very seriously. It is a huge day. If you get hired for a Christmas party, corporate party, and you screw it up, they just don't hire you next Christmas.
Yeah.
A wedding, usually it's one and done. Or if you do a second wedding, it's sometimes not the same as the first wedding, but
We know nothing about that.
we know nothing about that. Tell them about when we got married, how extravagant it was.
So we actually visited the courthouse,
Give me a J, give me an O, give me a P.
Justice of the Peace.
We got married at the courthouse, yeah.
With our 2 young children. We only had 2 children at the time. And there was a bunch of plants there, I remember that.
Do you want to know why I remember the plants?
Why?
Because she said, if anyone here has any reason why these two, and I'm like,
There's
plant-
nobody
our
here.
kids aren't,
Yeah.
they're on board with it, like the plants. I go, you could have probably skipped that verse, but anyway, she was very thorough.
She was.
Judge.
Yeah. So that's how we got married. However, we have experience with almost every nuance that there is to a wedding. So we are happy to share that information. And when we were in the pandemic doing this, we got such tremendous feedback from couples and other vendors that it was almost like a community we created of people who were trying to navigate planning their wedding through a pandemic and the reschedules, the cancellations, like all those questions that came up. And that was really rewarding for us. And now it's become so much more. We do regular lives on a weekly basis where we answer questions live on TikTok once a week on Wednesdays at 12 noon Central Time. That's a lot of fun. We have our podcast.
Wedding Wednesdays, we call it.
Yeah, we have our podcast, which is the Wedding Duo podcast, where we dive deeper into a multitude of topics, and that's been wonderful. So it's just been a great journey. We are so excited to have you all join us here on YouTube as well, where we are going to talk more about what we do behind the scenes as the Wedding Duo and as At Last Entertainment.